Alrighty, good evening everyone. My name is Daniel Baird and I'm an event facilitator here with McNally Robinson Booksellers. And before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 1 territory, and that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Aninawak, Anishinaabe, Dakota, and the Dene peoples, as well as the homeland of the Red River Métis. Additionally, McNally Robinson Booksellers itself rests on the land once occupied by the Métis community of Roostertown. And of course, we are gathered here today to celebrate our first event of 2026 and the special launch of 2 new books from Skyler Trepel from the Challenge to Champion series, Inspiring Stories of Football Greats and Inspiring Stories of Baseball Greats. Let's hear a round of applause for Skyler. And of course, we are grateful to Zeitgeist and Penguin Random House for Kids for publishing these books of inspirational sports stories and for making this evening a reality. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce your author tonight. Skyler Trepel is a multimedia sports and entertainment journalist and author from Winnipeg. Skyler has his Bachelor of Commerce with honors from the University of Manitoba, his film production diploma at the Toronto Film School, and his Master of Arts in Specialized Journalism from the University of Southern California. Formerly a financial advisor, Skyler has left that career to pursue his passion for sports and entertainment journalism and writing. He has written hundreds of articles for various publications and is currently a contributing writer for People Magazine and People.com and entertainment.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here tonight. For those who thank you so much, everyone, for being here tonight. For those who came last time, for those who are new, and for braving the weather too, I really appreciate it. So we have 2 books to launch tonight. So I'm excited to share both with you through highlighting some of the book's most inspiring stories, sharing some behind-the-scenes insights of how they came together, and of course, reading a chapter of each book. I'm excited to recap a little bit of my own story, as well as some of the most uplifting tales of athletes I've ever heard, which are featured in the book. I hope that you can leave tonight feeling inspired, and maybe even like you can believe in yourself to achieve your own dreams and goals more than when you came in tonight. Before I begin, I want to give a huge thank you to McNally Robinson for having me here tonight. They've not only been my favorite bookstore for nearly 3 decades since I was 4 years old, but fostered my love of reading. When I was a kid, I loved reading and would always buy books here, especially in the children's section up there, from Robert Munch books to Goosebumps to Harry Potter. I've kept coming back all these years, and in fact, it was coming in 2022 to pick up a book by Goosebumps author R.L. Stine on how to write a children's book that reignited my dream of possibly writing a book one day. I think that's one of tonight's biggest takeaways, is to follow your passion wherever you can. Took me to see the movie Space Jam. During the movie, Michael Jordan and the Looney Tunes were down at halftime to a group of aliens, but Michael gave them secret stuff to make them play better. At halftime, he told them the secret stuff was just water, and they had the special stuff inside them all along. From that moment, sports and inspiration were always tied together for me. So were the exciting moments of people achieving their dreams to live out their passion at the highest level. I love the way that players were able to overcome the odds or challenging situations, from Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, or LeBron James hitting a game-winning shot, or Tom Brady or Peyton Manning throwing a game-winning touchdown near the end of the game after being down big. These moments of making huge comebacks against insurmountable odds helped inspire me to overcome the odds in my own life. Something else that's been hugely important in my life is education. While figuring out what I wanted to do with my life, I'd done a business degree at the University of Manitoba, a film production diploma from the Toronto Film School, then became a financial advisor. However, I knew in my heart that I wasn't living my passion and wasn't truly enjoying what I was doing. So I wondered to myself, what would I enjoy? I first realized my favorite part of my day was talking about sports at work, and that reminded me of how passionate I was talking about it with friends at school. One of my favorite things about sports is how it can bring people of all different backgrounds together, and how it helped me relate to people I might not have things in common with otherwise. I also remembered moments in my life where there might be nothing going on, but a game-winning touchdown, shot, or walk-off home run made me jump up with excitement. I always loved writing too, and in fact, some of my earliest writing was around sports, from my grade 5 project on Tony Hawk landing his 900 skateboarding trip, to my grade 10 English writing portfolio on my all-time favorite athlete, Kobe Bryant. This led to me writing book reviews for the Winnipeg Free Press in my mid-20s, starting while I was figuring out my next career move during film school and continuing into my time as a financial advisor. After generating more writing gigs during this time, including one that saw me predict the Lakers would win a championship in 2020 before the season started, which got over 100,000 views, I knew I was on to something with my writing. That's another important takeaway, is that you can always take small steps towards your dreams, no matter where you are. I thought about making this my full-time career, but it seemed impossible, even as I called USC to see when their journalism program deadline was. It was the best journalism school in North America. The acceptance rate often hovers around or below 10%, and I would have had to get my application in a few days, so it didn't seem in the cards. Then the pandemic hit, and I realized this was for sure the career I wanted to pursue. And there was also a unique opportunity where the world was on pause. I called USC and they said I had 5 days to study for and write my GRE exam, write a 1,000-word personal essay, and publish 2 more articles so I had a portfolio of 15. So I worked as hard as I could to make it happen, because that's what you do when you have a dream. And loving what you do makes the hard work fun. Specifically on the GRE, I was prompted to give an example about whether your circumstances define you, which I said they don't. I wrote about LeBron James going from barely being able to make it to school while growing up in poverty to eventually starting his own school for kids in similar situations. And I scored in the 96th percentile. So, with all that being said, how did these books come together? Well, this and many other aspects relate to what I said earlier about how your past can come back to help you. After writing hundreds of articles for various publications, doing podcasts, working as a sports anchor, sports reporter, columnist, entertainment journalist, multimedia editor, podcast host, and more, I landed with People magazine as a contributing writer, which has been a dream come true, writing about sports and entertainment. However, I knew I could still add a bit more to my workload and still have my dream of writing books. So after posting my People articles on LinkedIn, Tara Seploin from Penguin Random House Acquisitions reached out to me with an opportunity to interview for the chance to write a children's sports book. In that interview, I brought up everything I've mentioned to all of you today, from my love of reading as a kid, to buying books from McNally Robinson, to the early pieces of writing I did on Tony Hawk and Kobe Bryant. When I was asked to do a writing sample, I knew that I had already successfully written about LeBron's story of overcoming adversity as a child, and that this could be perfect for a children's book segment. It turns out it was, as I was selected to write a new kids' sports book called From Challenge to Champion, which I released in April of last year, featuring inspiring stories of greats like LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Serena Williams, Simone Biles, Lionel Messi, Tom Brady, and even 7-time Olympic gold medalist Allison Felix, who endorsed my book with the saying, "From overcoming challenges to advocating for change." This book shows how true champions inspire us, both on and off the field. The book became a bestseller here at McNally Robinson, and a #1 top new release on Amazon, which was a dream come true. I was also invited back to my old school SJR to inspire a whole new generation of readers by speaking to the grade 5 class from my former grade 3 teacher, Ms. Sterner, who's here tonight and now goes by Mrs. McLeod, and the school librarian, Grace Shepard. It was deeply fulfilling to know I was able to have an impact on and inspire others the way so many of my favorite authors or journalists had inspired me, with perhaps my favorite moment being my first book launch year. Now that brings me to the official launch of my next 2 books, Inspiring Stories of Football Greats and Inspiring Stories of Baseball Greats. All right, so these 2 books came together with a lot of hard work. Like the last book, these books came together with help from a lot of people. But unlike the last book, I was often working on these books at the exact same time, with plenty of intersecting deadlines. That meant that I might be writing a chapter on baseball while working with my development editor on football. Now, while doing this, I thought of my favorite director, Steven Spielberg, editing Jurassic Park while filming Schindler's List for motivation, especially because sometimes I would be working on these 2 books while writing an ending explainer on The Bear for People magazine and about Disney movies for Entertainment Weekly. It required a lot of compartmentalization, balance, and most importantly, taking breaks in between projects and being compassionate towards myself, since I'd sometimes have to work on multiple projects on the same day. A lot of work went into each book, beginning with pitching the athletes to my incredible editor, Ada Funk, who I worked with constantly on these books. Now, working with Penguin Random House, the largest publisher in the world, the deadlines can be intense. When writing the chapters, I often wrote 6 chapters in 3 to 4 weeks, which would include the dedication, additional athletes section, glossaries, introduction, and post-game notes section. Then came a 1-week period of working with the development editor on call, back and forth, and looking over the manuscript from a copy editor and completed book before it goes to print. Next, I had to do marketing for the books, reaching out individually to well over 100 people to gauge interest in reviewing the book, promoting it on social media, and various other marketing milestones, which I couldn't have done without my amazing marketing associate from Penguin Random House, Portia Turner. These books are entirely focused on one sport is another differentiator. Something really fun about this is that while there are 12 stories, the entire book reads like a cohesive story about the sport's history. For example, I can mention Joe Montana in one chapter, then how Kurt Warner looked up to Joe Montana in the next chapter, while also foreshadowing how Kurt's playstyle impacted Patrick Mahomes, and then how Tom Brady beat Kurt Warner in the Super Bowl in the next chapter. As with the last book, each book contains an additional section on 12 upcoming athletes too. Because these dive deeper into the sport, I also wrote glossaries of key words to not only help kids learn them, but people who may not be familiar with the sport or are new to the sport. One thing I want to say before I get into each individual book is that while these books may be aimed at kids, I wrote them for all ages to enjoy, with universally applicable life lessons and engaging language, so you can get them for the kid in your life or enjoy them yourself. So the first book I'll discuss is Inspiring Stories of Football Greats. So a huge aspect that inspired my love of sports comes from my family's love of sports, or sharing moments in my love of sports. For example, this book is dedicated to my dad and my Zadie. They were both hugely influential in fostering not just my love of football, but the lessons in working hard to achieve your dreams from their own success and wisdom in their lives, which were lessons applicable to many of the players in the book. My Zadie was a die-hard Miami Dolphins fan and showed me tapes of Dan Marino and the Miami Dolphins growing up. He told me stories of Don Shula, which I found very inspirational. My dad and I grew up watching football together regularly, from watching Tom Brady win nearly every Super Bowl to watching a new crop of players this year. We've always loved talking about football in part of our greater conversations on life, and he's always the first person I call with exciting football news. Specifically to this book, I included teams and duos to differentiate the book. Plus, it gave me a chance to write about Tom Brady again. It also gave me a chance to talk about the dynamic and teamwork of how some of the greats are able to connect, which can help provide universal insights into relationships. Before I get into the book, I wanted to share that it was endorsed by one of the cover athletes, Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. And Laurent won the 2020 Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs as an offensive lineman blocking for Patrick Mahomes. What's so special about Laurent is not just that he's Canadian, or that he's been named to the Order of Canada, but that he is also the first medical doctor to play in the NFL, and is retired practicing medicine today. He endorsed the book saying, "This book and its stories have the opportunity to show kids that setbacks are setups for comebacks. It is a celebration of grit, growth, and the power of believing in your dreams." This book was also a #1 top new release on Amazon and a bestseller at McNally again. I also got to promote this book by speaking to grade 4s at SJR, once again in Mrs. McLeod's class, and thanks to Grace Shepherd who's here too. One of the coolest moments was that when my former teacher, Mrs. McLeod, asked what the students had learned, they weren't talking about the cool player stories in the book, but things like never giving up on your dreams, your past coming back to help you, and that with hard work and belief, anything is possible. So with all that being said, let's get into some of the athletes, and then I'll read a bit of the book. So, first up we have the 1972 Miami Dolphins, first chapter in the book. They're the only team in NFL history to have a perfect season with the winningest coach of all time, Don Shula. After their starting quarterback, Brian Griese, got injured, they had to replace him with a 38-year-old backup, Earl Morrall, for most of the season. This meant that every player had to step up at different times to help the team, with others even sacrificing bigger roles. When Shula became the first coach to pass 100 career footballs, but by catching bricks from a roof, as his family grew up poor, and he tried to help his father as a bricklayer. This made his hands so tough that catching balls was nothing. Joe Montana wasn't necessarily bigger or stronger than anyone else, but his mental preparation allowed him to be calm under pressure, throwing big touchdowns in late games, and earning him the nickname Joe Cool. Once Joe and Jerry met, they worked hard to become the greatest duo of all time, winning multiple Super Bowls, with Jerry breaking nearly every receiving record, and Joe winning 4 Super Bowls in his career. However, their success didn't come overnight, but through hard work. Jerry said, without chemistry, we couldn't have had the long-term success we did and won so many Super Bowls. But chemistry isn't something that comes naturally. For us, it took countless hours of practice and working together to develop it. Next up, we have one of my favorite stories, Kurt Warner, and it's covered in the movie American Underdog. So Kurt is known as one of the greatest underdog stories in NFL history. Kurt was told to pick another career after not starting until his final year of college. Kurt didn't get drafted into the NFL even, and he ended up working at a grocery store until he was recruited to play arena football at 24 years old, which felt like a step backwards since it wasn't the NFL. But because he was willing to understand that sometimes step backwards can lead you to step forwards, it turned out to be a success for him. Even though this wasn't his dream, Kurt never gave up and worked hard to achieve his dream. By the time he was 27 years old, he made the NFL and became a Super Bowl MVP. Next up, we have, also on the cover of the book, in the blue jersey there, Michael Strahan. Michael grew up in Germany, where there wasn't much football, and he was bullied for having a gap in between his front teeth. However, Michael decided that despite what others thought, he'd let his difference make him special. Michael said, you don't want to be like everybody else. You want to be who you're meant to be. And for me, I'm meant to be the guy with the gap tooth smile. Something that used to be the curse that got me made so much fun of is now the gift. This mentality helped give Michael confidence as he moved to the US in grade 11 to pursue his football dreams, which is much later than most start playing football. Eventually, Michael broke the single-season sack record and became a Super Bowl champion. Michael said, if you believe in what you're trying to accomplish, it'll happen. I mean, anything is possible, and I am living proof of that. Anything is possible, as long as you put your mind to it, you believe it, and you enjoy it. So next up we have another one of my favorite players, Peyton Manning. Peyton is one of the greatest players of all time, with 5 MVPs and 2 Super Bowls. But growing up, he was bullied because he was born with a facial difference called a cleft palate. This was tough on Peyton's mental health, but it taught him to reach out for help when he needed to. He said it's important to talk about it, and it's important to go out there and try to get some help. Talking about mental health is not a sign of weakness, but really a sign of strength. Peyton worked insanely hard, becoming known for his preparation and learning what made each of his teammates tick, even watching full games of teams he was playing against to prepare. But another part of Peyton's legacy is the vulnerability he showed. Peyton said, so many people look up to NFL players and think just because they're in the NFL and playing at such a high level that they don't have any problems. That's not true. Everybody has problems. Everybody has things that they're dealing with. It's important for them to open up because that will help people realize that it's okay not to be okay. Next up, we have a little bit more on Laurent Duvernay-Tardif. I know I talked about him, but one other thing I wanted to share in terms of your past coming back to help you is that his note-taking in medical school helped him learn NFL playbooks better and even diagnose his own injuries as the first medical doctor to play in the NFL. But what got Laurent on the Order of Canada? He left the NFL after winning a Super Bowl to help on the front lines during the pandemic while still actively playing. You see, what Laurent proves is that no one can box us in, and we can pursue multiple dreams while helping others in the process. Next, we have two other cover stars, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. They were one of the duo chapters, also one of the greatest duos ever. They're three-time Super Bowl champions with the most playoff touchdowns by a duo ever. Travis is one of the greatest tight ends ever, but he nearly didn't make the NFL after getting cut from his college team for spending too much time hanging out with friends before learning to focus more. Travis and Patrick formed one of the best duos ever by getting to know each other as friends off the field, so they knew what the other was thinking on the field without even talking. The Chiefs became one of the most successful teams ever, but after a crushing Super Bowl loss and not even making the playoffs this year, they're using what they learned to come back better than ever next year. Next up, we have another great underdog story in Josh Allen, the 2024 NFL MVP and holder of the single-season record for rushing touchdowns by a quarterback, but he struggled to get noticed early on. Josh went to a quarterback camp in Fresno and wasn't even picked to play on the main field where scouts watched. But instead of feeling sorry for himself, he worked harder. Josh went to a small college and sent his highlight tapes to 1,000 coaches, hoping to move to a bigger college, but not a single coach answered him. However, Josh didn't give up. He worked even harder and believed in himself, even when others didn't, while making sure he was a great teammate, eventually becoming a first-round draft pick and NFL superstar. Next up, we have Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, and I'm going to read after this. They won a Super Bowl in their first season together as Jalen won Super Bowl MVP and Saquon, pictured on the back there jumping over a player, won Offensive Player of the Year. Despite becoming one of the best running backs ever, Saquon wasn't even ranked in the top 100 coming out of high school, but he believed in himself and watched film of himself to learn and improve. Jalen was benched in a national championship game and dropped in draft rankings after the public benching, but maintained his belief that everything happens the way it's meant to, as he learned from it. Jalen and Saquon both learned to become good at multiple things to make each other better. All right, so some of the other athletes in the book include MVP Lamar Jackson and Defensive Player of the Year Troy Polamalu. But today, I want to read you the dedication and introduction to the book, as well as the post-game notes which sum up the book and its main lessons. In between that, I'll read the chapter on Tom Brady and the 2001 New England Patriots Super Bowl winning team, a story of teamwork and surprisingly humble beginnings for someone who became the greatest player of all time. All right, so to Dad and Zadie, thank you for many great chats and lessons about football and life. You've always shown that hard work and persistence lead to success. So the intro here, hello football fans. My name is Skyler, and just like you, I am a big football fan. My love for the game began when my Zadie showed me videotapes of Dan Marino and the Miami Dolphins. After that, I began regularly watching football with my dad, and like many families, we all got together to watch the Super Bowl. I also played the Madden video game and fantasy football with friends, and learned about every statistic and player that I could. I even played tackle football very briefly before switching to flag football. This safer form of the game is gaining popularity among boys and girls and is becoming so popular that it will be included for the first time in the 2028 Olympics. But my favorite part, the inspirational stories of the players. In this book, you'll read about all-time greats like Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, Peyton Manning, and Tom Brady, as well as some of today's best players, including Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Saquon Barkley, and Josh Allen. All the players in this book believed in themselves, even when others didn't, learned from their challenges, and worked hard to achieve their goals. I hope these stories give you a greater appreciation for the sport, its players, and their life lessons. Use these lessons to follow any dream you have as you go from challenge to champion. Okay, and the 2001 New England Patriots chapter here. Huge thanks to Lorenzo Fornaciari, the illustrator of these books. So here, since it's the team chapter, you have all the players and sort of a trading card-like section over there listing the stars, their achievements, and their clutch plays, which you'll hear about in the chapter. The New England Patriots of the 2000s and 2010s are perhaps the greatest dynasty in football, and maybe in all of sports. Led by quarterback Tom Brady and coach Bill Belichick, the Patriots won 6 Super Bowls during this time. This is the most Super Bowls ever won by a quarterback and coach duo, and the most ever for a team. Their dynasty also included an undefeated regular season in 2007, but it all began with their unlikeliest Super Bowl win in the 2001 season. The Patriots were not thought of as a great team before the 2000s, hard to believe. In the 2000 season, the Patriots went 5-11 with quarterback Drew Bledsoe and first-year head coach Bill Belichick. However, the team believed in Bledsoe so much that they signed him to a 10-year contract worth over $100 million, the largest NFL contract ever at the time. It looked like Bledsoe would be the leader of the team for years to come. Unfortunately, in their second game of the 2001 season, Bledsoe was hit hard and badly injured. The whole team was sad and in shock. After all, Bledsoe had been the leader of their team for nearly 10 years. They had to turn to 24-year-old Tom Brady, who was their 4th-string quarterback the year before. No one thought much of Brady because he was drafted as the 199th pick of the 2000 draft and didn't look very athletic. Even worse, the Patriots had already lost the first 2 games of the season. Most people wondered how the Patriots would turn their season around with Brady. Brady wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the biggest, he wasn't even the strongest, but he would work the hardest. Brady treated every practice like it was the most important game of his life. The media didn't believe in him, but he earned his teammates' respect with his hard work. The rest of the team knew they would have to work hard too. Running backs like Antoine Smith stepped up so Brady didn't always have to pass. The defense, including linebackers Teddy Bruschi and Willie McGinnis and cornerback Ty Law, stood strong and stopped opponents from scoring as much. This gave Brady room to make mistakes and learn from them. As safety lawyer Malloy said, sometimes it takes a tragedy to bring a community together, a team together. As bad as the Drew Bledsoe situation was, it forced the defense to step up and play as one. In his first start, with the help of his defense and running backs, Brady and the Patriots beat Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts 44-13. In their Week 5 game against the San Diego Chargers, Brady threw his first game-winning pass for a come-from-behind victory. People started to believe Brady and the Patriots could be something special. In Week 10, Bledsoe was cleared to play them. This created a challenge for the Patriots. Who would be the starter? The $100 million face of the team, or the 6th-round pick who was winning games? Most of the team, the media, and even Bledsoe thought Bledsoe would be the starter again. However, Coach Belichick went with Brady. Everyone was shocked. Patriots owner Robert Kraft even tried to change Coach Belichick's mind. But Coach Belichick stuck with who he believed was best for the team, Brady. In Brady's first game as the starter since that decision, he threw 2 interceptions in a loss against the St. Louis Rams. People wanted Brady benched and Belichick fired. Bledsoe could have used this to try and force the team to switch quarterbacks. But even though Bledsoe was heartbroken to not be playing, he put his own needs aside to support Brady and help him prepare. This motivated the team to believe in each other even more. This team-first mentality became known as the Patriot Way, and it would define the Patriots dynasty for the next 20 years. Belichick chose Brady because he believed Brady had the attitude and leadership of a winner. As Belichick later said, he prepared extremely hard individually on his fundamentals, his techniques. Tom, I feel like, got the best of me because he was so well prepared that I felt like I had to keep up with his preparation. Brady and Belichick spent hours watching, studying, and talking about football. On the practice field, Brady worked hard to learn everything he could so he could improve more quickly than most quarterbacks. Off the field, Brady hung out with his teammates and got to know them, bringing the team closer. After the early loss to the Rams, the Patriots won every game and made it to the playoffs, their first playoff appearance since 1998. The Patriots were considered underdogs in their first game against the Oakland Raiders. It was snowing heavily, and the Patriots were down 13-3 with 8 minutes left in the 4th quarter. To try and throw the Raiders off, the Patriots went with a no-huddle offense, where they would run quick plays without discussing them, trusting what they learned in practice. Brady led the Patriots down the field with great throws and impressive catches by his receivers. Brady, who had been called unathletic by many experts, then ran for a touchdown to make the score 13-10. After the touchdown, the defense got a big stop, and Brady once again led the Patriots down the field. The Patriots kicker, Adam Vinatieri, would have to make a 45-yard field goal in a blizzard to tie the game. With less than a minute to go and barely able to see the goalpost, Vinatieri did just that. He also made the game-winning field goal in overtime. The Patriots made the Super Bowl, where they faced the 2000 Super Bowl champions, Kurt Warner and the Rams. Almost no one expected the Patriots to win. They knew they would need to play as a team. The Patriots' defense was incredibly tough and physical on the Rams' high-powered offense. Pro Bowl cornerback Ty Law ran back an interception for a touchdown to put the Patriots up 7-3 early. Brady threw a touchdown shortly after, and the Patriots were up 14-3 at halftime. However, the Patriots got a bit too confident. In the fourth quarter, Kurt led the Rams down the field before running in a touchdown. The Rams defense stopped the Patriots from scoring. Then, the Rams offense scored another touchdown to tie the game at 17-17 with 1 minute and 30 seconds left. Bledsoe told Brady that he could still win the game. In one of the most clutch performances in Super Bowl history, Brady got the team into field goal range with a series of well-timed, strong, and accurate throws. Once again, Vinatieri kicked the game-winning field goal just as the clock hit 0. The legend of Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and the Patriot way was officially born. Brady later reflected on the season that started the Patriots dynasty, saying, "It's like anything. It's progress, and it's evolution. It's a series of small steps that seem so insignificant at the time that you're making them, that when you look back, you realize the distance traveled." All right, and the post-game notes that include this book. Now that you've read all 12 stories, you know how successful these incredible football players are and the challenges they've overcome to get there. What can we learn from them? The 1972 Miami Dolphins and 2001 New England Patriots show that you can achieve greatness together when everyone is a team player and helps each other. Josh Allen and Kurt Warner are two of the greatest football underdog stories. They and Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley show us the power of believing in yourself, even when others may not. Players like Michael Strahan and Troy Polamalu show that you can finish strong and achieve your dreams, even if you have a tough start. The stories of Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, and Jerry Rice prove that it's not just about being talented. It takes hard work too. Lamar Jackson and Laurent Duvernay-Tardif show that you can be good at many things and don't have to choose just one dream. And Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce show us that success isn't a straight line. Even if you reach your dreams, you may still experience challenges, but you can learn from them and continue to work hard to overcome them. Now that you've read these stories, think about ways that they inspire you. Ask yourself, which of these stories affected me the most and why? What am I most passionate about? What's a small step I can take to make my dreams a reality? What's a challenge I overcame? What did I learn about myself from that experience? No matter what your dreams are, these stories and questions provide lessons that can help you go from challenge to champion. And that's inspiring stories of football greats before we get into inspiring stories of baseball greats. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate it. All right, so inspiring stories of baseball greats. It is a dual launch after all. This was a very special book released at the perfect time with the Toronto Blue Jays' epic run, getting all the way to Game 7 of the World Series against the Los Angeles Dodgers late last year. Speaking of the Blue Jays, this book is dedicated to my mom and my nana, who both heavily inspired my love of reading and sports. Specifically, my nana lived with me growing up and was the biggest Blue Jays fan I've ever met. She was such a big Blue Jays fan that she would yell with excitement when they were on TV. She would watch all 160 games, and we loved watching sports together. She even got me my first Michael Jordan video, and we got TVs at our cottage just so she could watch games. Sports always made her happy, and that happiness was infectious and made me happy too, as she shared those special moments with me. Her and my mom would often drive me to school and come pick me up, with my mom even coming to read at the library. They both loved reading and writing. My mom was particularly influential in my career as a journalist, also getting her law degree and having a successful career as both a human rights lawyer and journalist. Her care for my nonna and her mom later in life had a profound impact on me, and I wouldn't be where I am today without her. I again loved weaving in different stories in this book, from Babe Ruth being the only player who could successfully pitch and bat, to Shohei Ohtani being the first to do so in nearly 100 years since then. Speaking of Shohei Ohtani, I learned to up my marketing even more for this book, learning the green screen effect to create 1-minute videos of Shohei Ohtani and the one-handed pitcher of Jim Abbott to post on social media, which I got to show some of the SJR students when I went to speak in class. It paid off as I was interviewed on Fox Sports Radio by baseball journalist Rob Parker, and also on one of the largest Blue Jays podcasts, Blue Jays Today. I was also invited for a third time to speak at SJR, giving 3 different presentations to grade 2 and 3 classes, and one to the grade 10s when I saw my grade 10 teacher there too, former grade 10 teacher there too. One of my favorite questions was when someone asked me my favorite part of being an author. And I said I love being able to express myself creatively. But it's these moments right here where I'm in a position to inspire others, just like my favorite authors inspired me. That day, I also got to come to McNally Robinson here to see my book in the children's section up there where I grew up buying books, as I do now every book release day. And I was even recognized being asked to sign all the books in a full circle moment. The book also became a #1 top new release on Amazon, and I'm aiming for my 3rd McNally Robinson bestseller with this one today. It has also now led to another full circle moment as I'm invited back to USC in LA to speak to a class about my career in February. This book features many incredible baseball stories, including Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, Reggie Jackson, Roberto Clemente, the 2016 Chicago Cubs, and some of the athletes I'm about to mention now. So first off, Babe Ruth, the greatest of all time. Babe was sent to a boarding school after a rough home life, but he used this time to learn about baseball. Despite being good at pitching, he fought to become a batter too once he made the MLB, paving the way for players like Shohei Ohtani to do the same 100 years later. He struck out more than nearly anyone, but he also hit the most home runs on his way to becoming a 7-time World Series champion and the greatest of all time. Babe said, "Every strike brings me closer to the next home run," and also proved that sometimes the people who fail the most are the ones who end up having the most success because they're willing to try. Next up, we have a chapter on Jackie Robinson and the 1947 Brooklyn Dodgers team chapter. But Jackie was the first black player in baseball's modern era, breaking barriers for others. He faced horrible racism from fans, and even some of his own team protesting against him. By not reacting to people's cruelty and playing his best, he knew he could create positive change for everyone. Eventually, his teammates rallied around him, publicly and privately standing up for him. His number was retired by the league. He won a World Series, and 40% of MLB players today are from diverse backgrounds. Next up, we have one of my favorite stories ever, Jim Abbott. Jim Abbott was born with one hand, but he never let his physical differences define him, and he never gave up. So Jim dealt with the pressure of making the MLB as someone born with one hand and the spectacle of it by focusing on one pitch at a time, which led to him eventually pitching a no-hitter, the best single game accomplishment you can have as a pitcher, and a worldwide story that also got him a guest appearance on my favorite show, Boy Meets World, which is how I heard about him, for the New York Yankees in 1993, in one of sports' most inspirational moments ever. Jim said, "Imagine if we could look at misfortune and challenge and adversity as if it was a gift, as if it was a chance to reveal our inner strength, as if we could embrace those challenges that come at us." Next, we have Derek Jeter. Derek became a 5-time World Series champion, but at one point, he nearly quit baseball. He always dreamed of playing shortstop for the New York Yankees, and even got drafted by them. But when he started in the minors, he got an ankle injury and played terribly. He spent many nights in tears and wondered if he'd made a mistake, calling his parents every single night. However, they helped him understand this was just a test of his commitment to baseball. In not giving up on his dream, Derek committed to baseball, becoming one of the greatest players of all time, and said, "If there is one key to success that I can give, it's to treat every game like you're still in Little League." If you can embrace that mindset, even in the majors, the last at bat won't exist. There is no failure. There's only the moment. The beauty of baseball is that every day is a new chance to get it right. Next, we have Mookie Betts, also on the cover, catching the ball there. Mookie Betts is a 4-time World Series champion, but when he was a little boy, he was so small that no Little League team would even take him. His mom had to start her own team just for him to be able to play. But Mookie stayed ready and proved how good he was, using his size to his advantage. No matter how people doubted him, he never gave up on himself. Mookie said, "I think that energy and that effort you put into cheering yourself on makes you feel better, and nobody's going to treat you better than you. Be your own best friend." Next, we have Aaron Judge, one of the 3 other current players in the book, on the back right there. So Aaron Judge may be known as one of the best hitters today, but did you know his first season couldn't have gone worse? He finished with a low batting average of less than 18% in his first season, playing before going on to massive success. He still looks at a note on his phone with his batting average regularly to remind himself how far he's come. However, he stumbled again in 2024, batting less than 20%, but he stayed calm. Aaron said, "You never know what's going to happen. But as long as I'm focused on keeping it simple, flush the bad days, don't sit too high on the good days, I can look back and be like, all right, I had a bad stretch here, I had a good stretch there, but right now, I can just stay even keel." This mentality worked for Aaron as he just won MVP again. Next, we have the most popular player in baseball today, Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani may be becoming the greatest player ever, as the first in 100 years since Babe Ruth who can pitch and bat. But did you know no one believed he could do this? So he had to play in the Japan Baseball League to prove that he could pitch and bat, because people just wanted him as a pitcher initially. This may have felt like a step back, but Shohei proved himself, made it to the MLB, and is now baseball's best player as a 2-time World Series champion, because he was willing to humble himself and take that smaller step to get to his dreams. Okay, so to close things off here, I am going to read the introduction, dedication, and post-game notes, but this time I'll read a chapter on Toronto Blue Jays legend, Jose Bautista. This is a great story because Jose had one of the worst starts ever to a sports career, but he ended up giving Canada one of its best sports moments ever. So this is Inspiring Stories of Baseball Greats. To Nana, the biggest baseball and Blue Jays fan I ever met, and my mom. Thank you both for teaching me to love reading, writing, and learning, while supporting my dreams and teaching me many lessons. All right. Hello, baseball fans. The crack of the bat, the smell of hot dogs and peanuts, the roar of the crowd after a home run. These are just some of the things that make baseball so loved. Started in 1903, Major League Baseball is the oldest professional sports league in the world. So if you ask your grandma, grandpa, or even parents about baseball, they may have a story or two to tell you. For me, Nana, my grandma, is the person who gave me my love for baseball. She may have even been the biggest Toronto Blue Jays fan in the world. Even in her 70s, she watched every Blue Jays game and knew every statistic of every player. No matter what was going on in life, baseball made her happy as she yelled at the TV with joy and excitement. She loved reading and writing too, and that's why I'm so excited to be writing this book about baseball dedicated to her and my mom. Because baseball is such an old sport, this book features players like all-time great Babe Ruth, who began his career in 1914, and Jackie Robinson, who in 1947 was the first black player to play in the MLB. It also features more modern players like Derek Jeter, who won World Series titles in the late 1990s and 2000s, as well as some of today's biggest superstars like Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and more. These players may be stars, but they stood up for what they believed in, worked hard to overcome the challenges in their lives and careers, and never gave up on their dreams. In this book, you'll read all about the best stories in baseball history and learn lessons from these baseball stars that you can use to achieve your own dreams as you go from challenge to champion. Okay, so here we have Jose Bautista, one of my favorite Lorenzo Forniciari illustrations, him doing the iconic bat flip 2015 Toronto Blue Jays player that I will read about momentarily. And this one's really like a trading card with the individual players. They have their position as a right fielder and third baseman, born October 19th, 1980, where they're from, the teams they played for, breakout moment, top achievements, and a fun fact about him, which is that he's a huge soccer fan and primary owner of the United Soccer League team, Las Vegas Lights FC. So, Jose Batista's chapter. Growing up in the Dominican Republic, Jose loved baseball, but his parents wanted him to focus on his education first. If he kept his grades up, he could play baseball. Jose worked hard, both on and off the baseball diamond. He learned to speak English and did well in math and science. Some of his friends started signing professional baseball contracts at 16 years old, but Jose knew it was important for him to finish school. Jose continued his baseball training while taking business classes in the hopes of getting a good offer from a professional baseball team. But he mostly got very low offers. He knew he wouldn't be able to make a career out of baseball with such a low salary. Jose thought about giving up on his dream of playing baseball, but he decided not to. He kept working to get better, and his persistence paid off. Jose was drafted in the 20th round of the 2000 draft by the Pittsburgh Pirates. Still, education was so important to him that he later went back to school to earn his degree in business. Jose spent 4 years in the minor leagues before getting called up to the Baltimore Orioles in 2004. Teams were having a hard time finding the good in him. That year alone, he played for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, Kansas City Royals, New York Mets, and then returned to the Pirates. Jose became the first MLB player to appear on 5 different teams in one season. All these moves made him feel unsure about his future. Because he wasn't able to settle down in one place and it seemed like no one wanted him, Jose wasn't playing as well as he knew he could. Jose stayed in Pittsburgh for 4 years. His career wasn't starting out well at all, but he did show that he could hit home runs and get runners batted in. In 2008, he got traded to the Toronto Blue Jays, and this is where he would find his place in the league. Jose's new hitting coach, Dwayne Murphy, saw how powerful of a hitter Jose was and helped him adjust his swing with a new technique. Dwayne taught Jose to increase his bat speed so he could maximize his power. With this new technique, Jose was able to start his swing early. This gave him more time to read the pitch and stop if it was a bad pitch or hit with speed and power if it was a good one. It turns out Jose had this in him all along. He just needed someone to believe in him and help him tweak it a little bit. In 2010, at 29 years old, Jose was ready for his breakout season. He started slowly at first, but in May he got 12 home runs and started regularly getting on base. That same month, he was recognized by Major League Baseball with his first Player of the Week award. Before June was over, he already hit more home runs in the first half of the season than he hit in an entire season, with 24 of them. This made Jose an all-star for the first time in his career. Jose wasn't a one-hit wonder, though. In April 2011, he broke the Blue Jays record for walks in a month and won Player of the Month. Jose couldn't stop hitting home runs. In fact, he became the first player in over 70 years to hit the most home runs in the league for 5 straight months. Jose couldn't find a spot on a team before, but now he received the most all-star votes in history and was invited to participate in the MLB's home run derby. Because the Blue Jays are the only Canadian MLB team, Jose was easily one of the most popular baseball players in an entire country. He was on the cover of the 2012 and 2013 Canadian editions of MLB The Show video game. Jose was an all-star for the next 4 seasons, but in 2015, his popularity exploded with one of the most memorable moments in playoff baseball history and Canadian sports history. In 1992 and 1993, the Blue Jays were on top of the baseball world, winning back-to-back World Series titles. But after that, they didn't make it back to the playoffs until 2015. Not only did Jose and the Blue Jays make the playoffs, but they won their division and they scored 127 more runs than any other team that year. In the American League Division Series, the Blue Jays were down 2 games in the 5-game series. Were they about to lose the first playoff series they've made in 22 years? They fought back to win the next 2 games. In the 7th inning of the final game of the series, Jose, who was also known as Joey Bats, was up at bat. The game was tied 3-3, but the Blue Jays had runners on second and third base. Jose hit a massive 3-run homer that looked like it was going to sail out of the ballpark. Caught up in the excitement and emotion, Jose flipped his bat high up in the air in an iconic moment known as the bat flip. All the Blue Jays players rushed off the bench to celebrate. The Blue Jays won their first playoff series in nearly 25 years. Jose had an entire country behind him, and for a fan base that had gone over 20 years without a championship, this moment felt like a championship. Jose will always be remembered for this moment, and for proving that it's never too late to find your way. Jose didn't forget all the challenges he had to overcome early in his life. In 2011, he set up the Batista Family Education Fund to help young amateur athletes from the Dominican Republic and Canada attend college like he was able to do. In 2023, Jose joined the Toronto Blue Jays level of excellence, where his name and number will stay forever. In 2025, Jose was inducted into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, where he reflected on his career, saying he succeeded because of, quote, a lot of hard work and dedication. There's a lot of people and moments and hard-working hours in the batting cage that ultimately culminated with big league success. So here I am going to read the post-game notes section, and then I'll get into thank yous basically. So, post-game notes. Can you believe you just read over 100 years of baseball stories spanning from the late 1800s to today? Baseball has been around seemingly forever, and the history of the sport represents our own history, the lessons we can learn, and the future we can have. Players like Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Jim Abbott taught us that you can have unique paths to success. Roberto Clemente, Hank Aaron, and Jackie Robinson and the 1947 Brooklyn Dodgers taught us the value of standing up for what's right and fighting for equal rights. The 2016 Chicago Cubs and Reggie Jackson taught us to overcome the doubters by continuing to try no matter what. We learned how players who went on to become some of the greatest of their generation, like Derek Jeter and Aaron Judge, overcame struggles by continuing to work hard. Babe Ruth and Jose Batista showed us that you can overcome difficult starts to achieve greatness by never giving up. As you reflect on these stories, ask yourself, which story meant the most to you? How can I stay motivated, even if someone doubts me? What's something I believe is right to stand up? What is my dream? What are some smaller steps I can take to make it come true? What's something I'm good at that can help me achieve my dream? If you go after your dreams, never give up, and stay true to the lessons in this book, you can go from challenge to champion and be a great person while doing it. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. That concludes the official. Before I will want to give some thank yous, and then we'll do the book signing. So first of all, Mom and Dad, thank you guys so much for, raising me and getting me here today, and all the support on every step of the way and believing in me. You guys are the best. You've been so successful yourselves. You've instilled hard work in me and being a good person, and I love you and really appreciate it. I want to thank my sister Sierra for always sharing in the excitement of my books, and congratulate her on her career as a counselor, which is going phenomenally, and all the fun times we have together and fun times we have to come. I want to thank her fiance Gage as well for all the wonderful chats about sports that we have, and he even got me a wonderful Miami Dolphins shirt the other day, so thank you. I need to thank everyone at Penguin Random House and Zeitgeist Publishing especially as well. That's the Tara in acquisitions for recruiting me and interviewing me in the first place. That's the Ada Fung for working tirelessly with me all the time, back and forth, to make these books as good as they could be for kids and adults alike to enjoy. And the stories we've gotten back have been wonderful. She is such a big part of this. And to Portia Turner as well for all the marketing advice. So many milestones. We have email threads that are 60, 70, 80 emails long sometimes because I really wanted to learn it from such a well-established organization, largest publisher ever. To Patty, my amazing development editor, who's a dream to work with. We Zoomed once, and she's just really gets it with the books. We work great together. Thank you, Patty. To Ariel Keith, my copy editor, and to Meredith Snyder in operations, and of course to Lorenzo Fornacciardi, Fornachari for the beautiful illustrations. Really appreciate it. I have to thank my teachers who came out today, especially Mrs. Mahoney. She came out, I wasn't expecting, my grade 4 social studies teacher. And of course, when I emailed her, I often say Mrs. McLeod / Ms. Sterner, because that was how I knew her. You know, really this whole experience of getting to go back to SJR and be connected wouldn't have happened without her. She was an amazing grade 3 teacher and has inspired so many kids. Really appreciate you being here. And thank you so much to Grace Shepard as well, the librarian. She is absolutely wonderful. Again, carrying on for a whole new generation. So enthusiastic whenever I come back. And gave me some wonderful letters from the kids, which would have gotten emotional if I read them before, because they mean so much, but I can't wait to read them afterwards. And speaking of that, thank you to all the kids from SJR who came out today. You guys are the best. You guys have been an awesome audience when they come to SJR. And also to Aiden, who I met, who is not from SJR, and actually him and his mom just heard about it from McNally, which is really mind-blowing to me, honestly. So thank you all so much. You're the next generation. This is really meant to inspire you guys, and I believe in all of you guys to achieve your dreams. Huge thank you to, of course, my Nana for inspiring me, and I know she's watching now, and she's here with me in spirit. And, you know, she just really kept that spirit of her inner child alive. She laughed harder at kid shows than I did into her 70s and loved sports so much and had so many interests and was a huge part of why I am who I am. And thank you so much to my Zadie as well, who I know is here with us in spirit and looking down. And his passion for sports was hugely influential. He always believed in me, loved to have me read to him, would give me wizards, nicknames like the Wizard or Cedric if I read Harry Potter to him, Cedric Diggory, and I know how proud they are of him. Huge thank you to my Grams for coming today as well. I love her so much. She's been such a wonderful support in every aspect of all of my books. She's like the first person to read them, and I love giving them to her, and so many wonderful memories that we've had. And she had me to the cottage with Zadie to learn about Miami Dolphins all the time, so thank you, Grams, for being here. Before I do any more people, have to shout out the current pets, Simba, Teddy, and Melissa, and my former pets, Creamy, Princess Clover, Charlie, Regent, and Teal. And seriously, they're all great sports watching partners and make life a lot more fun. So thank you so much to my Auntie Bev for being here as well. She always calls me to check in, and I know she bought the books right away and is so proud of me, so thank you. Thank you so much to the Wilhelmers for being here too, my Auntie Cindy, my Uncle Al, and Shayna, and my cousin Emerson, who I know couldn't be here too. Actually, it was while I was with my Auntie Cindy that I got the email back about the book, so that was, you know, good luck charm, and thank you guys for all the wonderful chats about sports and life. Thank you to my Auntie Izzy, who has been so wonderful in encouraging me to pursue a writing career, and that it was my passion and I should go after it. And to Lori and Brenda for being here as well, Lori and Brenda Ellerby. You guys have always been so wonderful to me, and so many wonderful meals that we've shared together and cooking experiences, and I really, really appreciate it. I also have to say huge thank you to my friends and family friends, Tidas, Linda, who I've known forever, and Michael, who I've also known forever, and his fiance, Renee. Thank you guys so much for coming. It really means the world to me. And thank you so much to my friend Daniel Rubenstein and my friend Logan for coming too. Really appreciate it. And then also thank you to my Aunt Sharon and my family friend Natalie and Uncle Lewis and WT as well for watching from afar today. Huge thank you to my cousins Sari and Will and Eric and Nathan and Barbara. Really, really appreciate you guys being here today as well, and always so much fun hanging out with you guys. Really appreciate it. And thank you to, very quickly before I last went to my parents' friends as well who are here, in Sherry and Richard, and Linda and James, and Peter and Tara. Really appreciate you guys coming out as well. And thank you to Carol and Alan, my family back there, and Francis, my family back there as well. Sorry, and Max Sankoff as well. There you go. Trying to thank everyone, because now, you know, the most important thank you tonight has to go to the love of my life, Shannon Hubert, and you know, she came to my last book launch as a very good friend, and you know, we always loved talking with each other. And I asked her out almost right after that, and thank God she said yes, and asking her out was the best decision I've ever made in my life. She's the most wonderful person in the world. She's been with me every step of the way in writing these books and celebrating these books. The first person I get to show them to and celebrate with. And I was going to introduce her tonight as my girlfriend, but when we went to Palm Springs and to Disneyland, I got down on one knee and asked her to marry me, and she said yes. So she's my fiance. Thank you. And I knew that, thank you so much. I love you so much, man. You're the best. And I knew that so many people who loved and supported me would be here tonight, so I thought that happened January 8th. I thought it would be fun to wait 8 days and share it with all of you here. So thank you so much. I love you, Shannon. And thank you to her wonderful family and my future in-laws, her wonderful mom, Shelly, wonderful sister, Shay, and wonderful dad, Ed. They've been so supportive, so much fun to spend time with, and I really look forward to a lifetime of spending time together with you and Shannon and our families. So one more announcement is that there will be a 4th book I will be writing in the series as well. So thank you. Hopefully there will be one more of these. All right, so, and last but certainly not least, thank you so much to Daniel. Thank you so much to John Taves, who right there. Thank you so much to John Taves as well, who helped coordinate all this. Daniel for introducing me, and to McNally Robinson, just really for fostering my lifelong love of books, and Eric and Susan Vicker too. I forgot to mention them. They're back there. Thank you guys. And seriously though, McNally Robinson, going upstairs in the children's section to every time I release a book, having that going here that day to see it, it is still so surreal how this inspired me, and to know that other people are reading these books. And I hope they inspire you too. So I hope you've all enjoyed tonight and can leave here feeling inspired. That with persistence and never giving up, hard work, staying in touch with your inner child, and belief in yourself, anything is possible, and you can achieve your dreams, as you too can go from challenge to champion. Thank you all so much.
Alrighty, we're now going to move along to the signing portion of the evening. Another huge thanks to all of you for being here and online. Really amazing turnout, even with the weather. Thank you so much. A big thank you again to Penguin Random House Canada for making this evening a possibility. And let's give one more round of applause to Skyler Trepel. So the signing portion of the evening is going to take place at the table on my right. Feel free to have a copy signed before you pay for it. Just so long as you visit the cash just before you leave, that's all. That's a big important part that I like to add. So yeah, that'll take place right over here. I'm going to go by moving some of the chairs on the side just to give some room for everybody. But you can start lining up right over here. Thank you, everybody.